It's bringing legal analyst Mpumelelo Zikalala to weigh in on the story. Mpumelelo, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on the SABC at this hour.
Good afternoon to you, Nessa. Good afternoon to your viewers.
Perhaps you could speak to the crux of the matter at this point, given the responsibility of the public broadcaster and its mandate at large.
Well, there are basically two things in which the court is going to look at in this case. Firstly, it's the agents of the matter. The matter is brought on an agent basis. So it's going to say, is it a matter of life and death within the four pillars that govern agency, which is a clear right and no other alternative remedy that is available. Irreparable harm is going to be suffered, and also you are going to win an abundance of probabilities before it even entertains the merits of the matter. Now, if you look at purely on those ones, there are two things which are a bit of a problem. Other one, alternative remedy. For example, you have a regulatory body which regulates what people in the media are saying and doing, and that you can bring anyone that you have an grievance to them. Secondly, when it comes to irreparable harm, then the question would be, the statement of GNU has been being stated since May up until now. What irreparable harm are you going to suffer if it continues? It's up to you as the MK part to be able to prove this. If you don't succeed on that one, then your matter can simply be dismissed on the lack of agency. But the most important one, which is the merits, then goes into saying what the role of the SABC is to carry on the news as they are, unfiltered, and to be provided to members of the public. So if the president of the country, for example, and that of the ANC is going to say there's a GNU that has been stated, it is not the SABC's prerogative to then say, we are going to gag you from saying those words or not pronounce it in a manner in which you have stated it just because it does not suit the narrative of another individual. So it's one of the things which are going to be looked at. And the minute once you start to state that, you then have to look at other parties, like other political parties that are there. Why aren't they in court so that they're able to answer to themselves and all the other responsible or all the other parties that would have had a say in the term being used in general terms?
Thank you for speaking to the crux of the matter, highlighting the merits of the case, and perhaps also just looking at the matter of urgency, MK party needing to prove it on that point, perhaps alluding to some of the other avenues that were available for MK to also explore. Perhaps you could speak to that. I mean, there's the board, there's parliament, there's the BCCSA as well, even the ANC itself. What are your thoughts on that matter, on that aspect?
It's also going to be very important. Remember, it's one of the pillars of agency in which the court will then ask, before you came to me, what avenues and what actions did you take? Did you go to the BCCSA before you even went there? Did you start with the SAP itself? Did you write to the board and state your grievances as they are? Did you follow the proper complaints channel which is available and that ought to be available to every other individual? Did you go to parliament, for example, your political party which is in the political arena? And if you think that the public broadcaster has done something which is wrong, approach it, even approach the minister if you have to. After you failed, what other mediation processes did you then engage in? If it is found that they are very minimal or they are very little, the court can come back and say, go and traverse those first and then come back to me if you have failed. For now, your matter is not ripe in order for it to be heard. Hence, there's a lack of agency in the matter. So I'm going to strike it off the roll and then go and start off from scratch if you really want to pursue all those things. So there have been other alternative remedies that are there. And unless the MK party can be able to prove them and they failed in those alternative remedies, the matter may fall based on that basis.
And just in terms of the powers of the SABC itself in this matter, I mean, what comes to mind for you? Perhaps also just in terms of coverage, particularly on the back of the SABC coming out to say that they will defend the matter.
I think they're going to say we are going to depend on media freedom as much as possible. It is a right as an entrenched in the Constitution, and part of that right is that whatever which is being stated by any person who is a politician or any individual or member of the public must not be filtered. So I do not have editing powers to say Zikalala can be able to say this and cannot be able to say in other platforms, just as long as those are within the prescripts of any regulatory body that is there. For example, the BCCSA. Any other thing which has been stated by an individual must be conveyed to members of the public as it is, so that you report accurately in the sequence of events and the things that are taking place within the community. The minute you start doing that, you are then giving yourselves editorial powers that not to be given to you, and you run the risk of you being accused of doctoring and manufacturing news to suit a certain narrative. So in this case, the SABC, in my humblest opinion, has done one thing: stated what was being stated by politicians and conveyed it to us as members of the public. There's nothing wrong with it.
And so, given the urgency of the matter and also needing to prove alternative remedy and, whether irreparable harm has been done, what are the reasonable prospects of success? Does MK Party really have a case to argue here?
The prospects of success to me are very minimal. Remember, even on irreparable harm on its own, is it a matter of life and death? Is it a matter in which there's nothing that can be really, there's no reparability of the matter in any way of any of the harm in which you are going to allege? Let's start there. Is there harm in the first place? So it's one of the things in which the court is going to look at. And if it can be seen that, well, there's no irreparable harm which is going to be suffered, no other alternative remedies were traversed, then the matter is simply going to be dismissed for the lack of agency. But even if the court says, despite that having taken place, let's look at the merits. Let's look at the role of the SABC as a public broadcaster, as a person that is playing within the media space. They simply conveyed a message that was being stated by somebody else to the members of the public. In their conversion of their message, they did not filter it, because even on the rules, there was nothing that sort of obligated them to change whatever words that they were produced by a person making that statement. So on that basis, we are going to dismiss the matter. So the prospects of success are going to be a bit minimal.
The power plays, the plotting and ploying at large, what are you observing on that front? Just as we wrap up, I wonder what the bigger issue at play here is as well.
Well, someone cannot, a person who cannot sort of close your eyes to what maybe the MK Party is trying to do, and any other individual that goes to court. It's either two bases. You go there, you simply want to protect your rights. The other party or the other side is that you want to remain relevant as much as possible. The only way you should be able to do that is that get media covered by your case is being covered by the very same broadcaster and other broadcasters that are there. While that continues, then you are able to maybe stay relevant in whatever quarters that there is. But I think that's a matter in which political analysts will be able to do. But when one cannot sort of close your eyes to that particular eventuality, that the more you are in the courts, the more you are in the media.
Mpumelelo, let's leave the conversation there for now. Thank you for your time on the SABC at this hour. Legal analyst Mpumelelo Zikalala weighing in. We know that MK Party is taking the SABC to court over the use of the term Government of National Unity, or GNU. That MK Party, in fact, is seeking a hearing in August at the High Court. Again, SABC has come out to say that they will defend the matter.